And then Cyber Controller, with his big penis head, snow beard. I jest.
Big brain, penis brain.
Yeah. Hello, Nerdaholics. We are back after a very long hiatus, of which there wasn't really much of a reason for, other than just life happened.
Yeah, there's lots of chances of trying to meet up and then be like, oh no, it's just not going to happen.
It was like, like work getting in the way, or family getting in the way, or
all those annoying
sort of got in the way, and then it left again. But it's still around. So, as the title may suggest, we are returning back to the classic Who reviews with Tomb of the Cybermen. Woo! Oh yeah! Only 4 parts as well. Fucking brilliant.
Yeah, manageable. I can watch it multiple times and it doesn't impede too much of my day.
No.
I really don't look forward to doing something like War Games where I'll have to watch 10 episodes.
Oh, no.
More than once, probably. Because I have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you watch it the first... I mean, a lot of it I do from memory as well.
Yeah.
I do like to keep a critical eye. And that does mean you have to watch it and then be like, oh, can I... Because I don't know about you, my attention span's terrible these days. I sort of get to that point where I'm like, I've missed 5 minutes of what I was just watching.
Dude, I know exactly what you mean, because like in preparation for this, I did my notes on it. I was watching it while doing notes, as like stuff from memory as well. And I thought, no, you know what? I'll watch it this morning, just as like uninterrupted, just enjoying it for Doctor Who enjoyment. And even then, I was like, "Oh shit, I missed that." Right, write that down. It just is some things like you're doing it, like you say, as a critique. Yeah, you do sort of miss little things like that. But as a story, just to enjoy it, it's just like, there's not much more that can be said about how enjoyable this episode is. But we're going to talk about it anyway.
Beat for beat, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's like we were saying before we went on air. There's not much really to complain about this story. And I know that sounds a bit cliche, but there isn't really anything. So let's just gush over it for however long it takes to gush over it.
For us to get this review done and edited.
Right. Do you want to start? I mean, I think like when we were comparing notes earlier, it kind of started off very similarly, didn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of like, oh yes, him and them and this. Don't we normally start with sort of a synopsis of the story? It's been a while since we've done this.
Oh yeah, since we did like the recordings on an old phone in your room all those years ago.
I suppose the easier Tomb of the Cybermen. It's about archaeologists trying to discover the lost remnants of the Cybermen.
Yeah, and try to find out why they died out 500 years ago.
Although I did put a question mark. I was like, why on earth would you want to find the Cybermen anyway?
Yeah.
I mean, really, anyone in their right mind? And then you realise, I suppose, Klieg and Kaftan aren't in their right mind.
No.
By the time it gets to the end, so I suppose it does explain itself.
Go back to the archaeologist bit. It's when Hopper comes out with this fucking line, and he comes out with a few over the course of the episode. It's like, blast yourself, one love, Barack, and all you got is another. And it's like, yeah, that kind of works.
And then do you notice that when they do see the door, they're all looking in the wrong direction?
Yeah, they're all looking it's like they're looking over it.
Oh, over there. Over there, really? Over there. There. And there's like 3 or 4 different characters all sort of staring in different directions. I mean,
it's almost like the casting director was like, oh, just look intense, but like somewhere in front of us. Victoria's introduction to the TARDIS properly.
Yeah, because it's just after Evil of the Daleks.
Yeah.
Her first story. So a lot of stuff happens to her in there, actually. So she is a little bit cut up and
which is something that
trying to get used to the new life that she's now ended up in.
Been thrust upon.
Traveling with Doctor and Jamie. It's like, okay.
Yeah. So the whole thing about so it's flight. This is controls our flight. Oh, I love that. That's just like an iconic laugh. Don't laugh. It's true. And then we establish it.
Well, I like the fact that Jamie totally understands it by this point. I know it's been there a season or two, but
it's almost like I've settled. I'm just going to make this a reality for myself now. You think maybe it'd take a little bit longer, but then obviously he's seen a lot of shit in that one season, as in a lot of bad stuff happen and weird stuff happen to to a Highlander that he's almost gone.
Yeah, true.
This is just the way things are now.
And then we get the trope of the Doctor arriving and someone dying.
Yeah,
pretty much instantaneously, because when he goes to open the doors, they arrive.
Yeah, and it's like, well,
did you do this?
It must have been
how
you.
Could we have
how
done
could it
this?
be? Yeah, I literally just turned up. Oh, stranger, bad.
And then it's like, are you archaeologists? Oh, does it show?
Does it show? Yeah. But it's that kind of, it's just so smooth the way he does that. It's just like, does it show? Like, he's already taken a piss out of him, like, and it's only like 5 minutes into the story. It's like, yeah, I've got my head screwed on here. These guys don't really. Well, some of them don't anyway.
Well, yeah, and I think he's already being like, actually, to be fair, now that I've said it, the Doctor is a bit like, you're looking for the Cybermen.
Yeah. That's never going to be a good idea. It's like, okay, they find out.
I can't leave now because as soon as the Cybermen was mentioned,
yeah,
we're going to make sure these guys don't get themselves killed.
Yeah, that's like, Cybermen's my business, and I deal with them a lot in my tenure. As if you're going to break the fourth wall.
I also like in my notes here is let me, Doctor. The Jamie is not strong enough to open the door.
No.
So you have to get Toberman to do it.
Toberman, yeah. The legend that is Toberman.
I like the kilt joke.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a bit. Oh yeah.
No. Do you think it's a bit short? Well, look at Jamie's.
Yeah. Hang on.
I know.
Yeah, that's great. Also, yeah, going on to that, when they first get into the doors, and the Doctor obviously thinks that Victoria's there, so he reaches out to hold her hand, but he ends up holding Jamie's hand instead. They both kind of look at each other. Huh? I never really picked up on that in the past, but I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's quite funny.
They are a really good double. I mean, Jamie is one of my favourite companions, so it does kind of work really well, the dynamic between him and Troughton.
Yeah. So well.
I actually found quite impressive is the set design. As soon as those big doors do open and they get into the big control room, it's suddenly a big jump up in quality.
Yeah. Well, especially like, again, I've got here, it's like the wasteland to the base transition is really cool. And like, you've got basically they're in a big quarry, which is a hallmark of Doctor Who classic series. And then you're in this really like strange but cool looking base that they don't really know how to use yet, but the Doctor goes on to find out
using symbolic logic.
And
you're using computers. Yeah, that's a lot of babble here. That's just kind of like,
a lot of babble.
I have no idea whether any of this is true, but okay.
Yeah, that's for the mathematicians out there. It's like, if you just go to the power of the indices and then the big number, blah, blah, binary.
But I wouldn't do it if I were you. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, and then it does it anyway because, Klieg's.
This is the first time I'm actually watching it closely. You do see Toberman creep off in the middle of the scene.
Yeah.
Discreetly. If you actually pay attention. And before the ship gets sabotaged in the story, and it is Toberman that does it.
Yeah.
You do see him disappear off in it. And I do like it when they throw in at the same. Not throw the scene. It's there. It's there, plain to see. But until it gets explained later in the story, you suddenly go, "Oh, he's there." Unlike it just there, like he disappears. Yeah, he sneaks back in, and no one notices.
And then she goes, and then obviously Captain goes, "Is it done? It's done." And you're thinking, what's done? And then you kind of put the pieces together. And it's like, oh yeah, so it's a kind of a little bit of misdirection, but obviously in plain sight, like you say. Good use of both companions early on with their separate interactions with the team. So obviously you've got Jamie's gone
off with Hayden.
Yeah,
and no, it's just them two, isn't it?
Yeah,
they go off to the dark, like the big black room.
Yeah,
and then Kaftan, Viner, and Victoria go off into the revitalizer. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, just the big two.
Kaftan shuts her in the thing.
Just casually. She's just like donk, and then what proceeds to follow is a couple of knocks here and there. Basically, not you alive.
Still alive.
Yeah. Okay.
Still alive, isn't it?
I'm going to do that. And then you just love the way and then the Doctor just randomly sort of just turns up and goes, "Yeah, I wouldn't do that if I were you." Like, after doing it.
It's almost like he suspects some wrongdoing going on.
Oh yeah.
Like,
it's like Columbo, really, isn't he? He knows what's going on in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's already like, you know, sussed out some of the wrong uns in there.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Cleek and Captain immediately seem dodgy anyway. You know, they're just very shifty from the get-go. To be honest with you,
it's me trying to read my own handwriting. Is that I bet Victoria must get the door right in the mush.
Oh yeah,
because of how fast it slams, he must have proper got it right in the.
Well, yeah, because she just suddenly she just gets cut off mid-sentence, doesn't she? She's just like, it's like, oh, wow.
Oh, you're stuck in there now.
I could do with some revitalising. So a little sort of thing that bugs me, I suppose this goes back to, this is just semantics, but throughout the story, they call it the tombs of the Cybermen, and yet the story is called The Tomb of the Cybermen. Now, at first I thought, oh, why don't they just call it Tombs? But then obviously, I suppose Telos is the tomb, I guess. So I've just sort of answered my own question there. But anyway, yeah, that was just a small little thing.
I mean, they refer to them as the tombs down in the thing as them being the tombs.
Yeah.
But really, the story is about the whole building, the whole structure, which is the tomb.
The tomb, yeah.
All of it is the tomb, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know what you mean. It is a bit of a odd one because they're talking about their actual sort of like alcoves.
Yeah.
Whereas the story name is actually about the whole. What was the word? Complex. Oh, complex.
Yeah.
Cyberman comes out and someone dies.
Yeah. And he's shot in the back. It's like, and then you see like the Cyberman, what you think is a Cyberman, that doesn't turn out, just turns out to be a robot target, basically.
And it really does play on that. It feels like an Egyptian archaeological dig.
Yeah. No,
with the building being like having traps and doing things, you know, like Victoria getting slammed in the essentially like a sarcophagus.
Yeah.
And then someone getting shot like from a hidden position in a wall, like an arrow from a hole or something. Yeah. It definitely has that kind of tomb crawler.
Well, there you go. I suppose that's kind of another sort of link to the actual name of the story as well. It has very much those connotations to it, doesn't it? But not only that, but then it feels like there's like a murder mystery kind of vibe to it as well, because it's like, okay, well, how did that happen? What's going on? People are starting to be a little bit mistrustful of each other. The
building, the whole paranoia. They crank up the paranoia quite well, especially with Viner really going like, oh my God. And then later on, when they're having to spend more than a day there, it's like, we can't spend more than a day in this place, this damn trap.
Let alone fucking 3 days. Jesus Christ, we've just had 2 people get killed. Hopper's just like, no, well, that's just how long it's going to take, and this is my fucking ship.
Who broke into the rocket, or what?
Who? He's just like not taking any of that nonsense.
There's nothing here. We're just in a dead building full of dead people.
With undead creatures.
Classic sci-fi tropes there. It's like, no, we're here, nothing's going to be alive. That was silly.
It's fine, yeah. Nothing weird's going on, yeah. But yeah, I like the Doctor taking control straight away. Like, everyone's panicking, and he's just like, let's just stay back.
Let's have a look at what's going on. He got shot in the back.
Yeah. And then there's a bit where he's like, right, if anyone wishes to leave, as in the Doctors, if anyone wishes to leave now, I know it's very dangerous. You, Jamie. It's like, oh, come on, poor Jamie.
No, not you, Jamie. You have to push the buttons.
Remember exactly how you did it. Oh, okay.
And then Cleek gets to show off his logistic skills, logical skills. That's the one.
Yeah.
By doing the whole thing of opening up the power and the trapdoor opening.
Oh yeah, because he.
Even though the Doctor had to come in and push a couple of buttons.
Push a button, yeah.
And then Jamie's just like, but you, and like the fact that Jamie's first to be like, but you're the one in it. He steps on his foot and he's like, oh, what?
Shut up. Just let him get on with it. Well, yeah, I'll probably skip ahead here, but the bit where you get the Cybermat and then like he gets his diary out because he's just like, because obviously this is the first time you see it. And he goes like, oh, it's a Cybermat. And then Victoria's like, what's a Cybermat? He goes, oh, it's one of those. There's just no explanation for it. It's just like, yeah, there we go.
It's in my 500-year diary, okay? Even though you're 450 years old, but you know.
Yeah. You know, timey-wimey. Yeah.
It's not 400 now, is it, at that point anymore? Don't talk about
No. By that point, he's like, you know, he could be 2 million years old by then and it wouldn't make any fucking difference. Anywho, back to the story that we enjoy. You know, we were talking about how, like, Cybermen kind of subtly sort of sneaks off. There's another subtle thing here where the Doctor's talking to the people about the rocket and what's, like we said before, about someone or something. And so the first time he does that, he says the Doctor suggests something as tempered with the fuel pumps, and you can see Cyberman in the back smiling. Like, it's just a little note. It's just a little subtle. He's like, so that's another little like subtle nod to like, yeah, I did that.
And you guys have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. You think it's something, do you? Another Hopper gem comes up. He's like, I'm going to get off this planet with my skin still fitting tight all around. He's like, I'm not having any of this shit. I'm going to fix the rocket and go. And if you want to join me, you're more than welcome to, but I need to fix it.
Yeah, I've had enough of this place.
Yeah. This is not what I signed up for.
Then they get down into the tombs.
Yeah.
And then Klieg sets off the defrosting settings.
Pretty much.
Some logical now it's even simpler because it's now labelled in symbolic logic. Might not make any difference, but okay.
It's just logic.
No, it's an opening mechanism for something. Okay.
Yeah. We'll just go with that one.
I also like the fact. I mean, this is just little nitpicks on my part. Is that they pull different levers at different times.
Oh yeah, it's not. It's
like the same. It's not ever the same sequence. It's never the same sequence. Even when they get up to the top and they do the other stuff. Even when Victoria doesn't remember and gets Hopper and his mate to figure it out, and then on a completely different control panel that I'm sure he never touched. I was like, how much point did he pull any of those levers to actually activate the fucking trapdoor?
Also, how would they know what it is? Or if anything.
Oh no, all they do is like they just lift up and have a look at where the wires go, and I was like, that seems really
illogical. Yeah.
Well, it seems very logical, but still one of those ones where you just kind of like, why didn't they just do that in the first place?
Yeah, I know. It's just, I suppose the whole point of it being symbolic logic is, as it alludes to later on, they wanted a reason for the Cybermen to be there, and the reason was, well, someone will find us, and we'll just put like clever traps in there.
Well, no, there's no reason, because they do explain it is that they. We're getting that point because the Cybermen are waking up. Viner tries to stop it. Oh, he gets shot.
Yeah,
he kills him.
That's it. Yeah, before he goes to when Captain goes, everything yields to logic, and the Doctor goes, maybe your logic is wearing a little thin. It's like, oh yeah, there we go. Then they helps him with the button.
I obviously got tired at this point because everything becomes very sparse in terms of.
Don't worry, I've probably written too much, but at least they might.
I mean, I like the fact that she gets an oxo cube, and it's like, what's this? That's what you asked for, food.
Yeah. That's not. It's like, I would have some chicken. No, I'm not hungry anymore. No.
And then she drinks the drugged coffee.
Oh yeah. And then she's like,
But also, why did Captain have to shut the door in the first place?
Well, doesn't she say it's because she wants to keep them down there until Klieg's finished, and then she'll assume that only Klieg comes back. But even that is a bit of a stretch, to be honest. But I don't know.
I mean, you're putting a lot of faith in some questionable aliens that have a questionable history.
And they don't really know much about them. Yeah.
Other than they're stupidly advanced so they can take over the world. And they're going to use cyber technology to take over the world, but
they don't really know them that well, and they don't listen to the Doctor. And he says, "You really think you can bargain with these aliens that you don't actually really know much about, apart from just the fact that they died out 500 years ago? Did they know? No, you know what I mean?
Well, none of us are sure what's going on here.
Yeah, there was a bit. I like Victoria's enthusiasm to get involved. Like, as in she wants to go down with them, but then Doctor persuades her to stop.
And not in that usual, I'm doing it to keep you out of trouble. It's I
No.
need you to keep an eye on
exactly
here. There's more of a purpose than the usual, like, I just want to keep you out of harm's way.
Yeah, yeah.
It's more of a, I need you to keep an eye on her.
Yeah, which is why, again, was to put like so much for the view by some fucking idiots that there were no strong female characters back in the classic series when Victoria's like clearly trying to get involved, and even here the Doctor's like, no, I need you to get involved, but over here. So it's like, yeah,
keep an eye on.
It was going on in 1967. Yeah.
And even Kaftan's quite a strong character as well. She's ruthless.
Oh god, yeah. She's basically like
a point where it's her idea that when they all eventually escape the Cybermen and get back up into the top half and leave the Cybermen downstairs, which I love. That there's a really good bit to that where they slam the hatch down, and you get a real sense of how powerful the Cybermen are when it's trying to smash this fucking really heavy hatch.
And it almost breaks through it. He like
almost does it, and eventually just has to stop because it's kind of like, this is futile, and then back down. It really does give you a sense of like, oh man, these things don't. They mean business.
Yeah, and it's the relentless nature of them as well, which makes them as terrifying as they are. Yeah.
I also like the voices. The voices are far damned improvement on.
Oh yeah.
And what I mean, it's a continuation of the moon-based voices as well, but
the moon-based ones are a bit more
on the 10th planet because that.
Oh yeah. What is your emotions? Cyberman. I mean, they kind of hark back to it in World Enough and Time, but they made it a little bit more electronic.
Pain.
Yeah.
It's her speaking to Klieg about the gun.
Yeah.
And you can see, and actually, it's a really good portrayal from the guy who plays Klieg because he starts off with a lot of confidence and an understanding, and as soon as he comes face to face with the Cybermen the first time, you can tell he snaps.
Oh yeah. Well, it's the fact that when he's speaking to Kaftan, he's just like, I don't want to go back down there with those horrific creatures.
You don't know what they're like.
Yeah, he's already realizing just the stakes here now. But yeah, no, I see what you mean. It's like Kaftan. It's almost Kaftan is kind of like, pulling his strings and giving him like behind every great man is even a greater woman, that kind of like dynamic to it.
And then there's obviously once he gets the gun, he's like, yes, less haste, more pleasure. And you're like, and she's then starting to look at him like,
yeah,
you all right?
What the fuck's wrong with you?
Come on,
we need to use logic here. You're going a bit like do lally here. Knowledge and power for his motives.
Get more. Send some Cybermats to look awful.
Oh yeah, that's the. As I was saying before, that's like probably the only complaint. Is that
it's the only complaint I have. They're just terrible, bug-eyed, ridiculous.
Well, it's when you get the close up of them, and then it shows its fucking teeth. And then it's like, I'm like, oh wow. I mean, the thing is like the idea and the concept of them is scary because it's like, it's like they're.
I mean, to be honest, it did take a very long time to get them to be realised, though.
Yeah.
I mean, so they are used again in the Wheel in Space, where they're exactly the same. They're not any different. They're still ridiculously bug-eyed and crap.
Yeah. They're basically like scour pads.
They're not used in Invasion. Use the Cybermats in Invasion, and then they wouldn't return until it was a long hiatus between that story and Revenge of the Cybermen, and then you get the best Cybermat in Revenge of the Cybermen, and that's by far the scariest of the Cybermats ever get.
Yeah. Well, when they came back in Closing Time, it was like, no, they're cyber mice, and they've got like these really fucking like. They look like they've got dentures. They just look bad. It's just like these toys. It's like, no. There should be more subtle and discreet and just like, creeping around corners and kind of like, it was almost like a proto face hugger. It's like, as soon as one of these things jumps on you, you're fucked. And it's a good secondary weapon for the Cybermen as well.
Yeah, more clandestine weapon, which is why I quite like the mites. The Nightmare in Silver, because
that wasn't too bad.
If you're going to have a surveillance tool. They're kind of the best way to sort of sneak something in to watch what your enemies are doing. And,
yeah.
But I suppose that leads more to the clandestine nature of the original Cybermen.
Yeah.
Compared to what you get in the later series with the sort of marching around.
Yeah. And even, you know what? I'm going a bit of a tangent here, but even when they brought the fucking, like, the Mondasian Cybermen back for nothing time, they still fucking had the stompy noise. Why?
Yeah,
Why are you doing that?
Silly.
Yeah. The Cyberman's gone back, sort of snuck into Victoria's bag, and then it starts making a funny noise because the Cybermen are starting to wake up. Actually, I've got an interesting point, and maybe you'll agree with me or not on this, but is the Doctor's curiosity maybe going a bit too far? Because he says, like, when he's talking about, like, Klieg, he's like, oh, I just wanted to see what Klieg was up to. And it's like you've got to the point now where you've kind of almost not let this Cyberman wake up, but it's like, he's already sort of, like, flirting with danger to the extreme here by waiting to see what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He doesn't really know.
Yeah, he's not entirely sure of his intentions until it happens.
Yeah.
I suppose it's one of those ones he's not sure whether to step in.
Yeah.
Unless it's absolutely necessary to do so.
Yeah. That's it. It wasn't a complaint. It was just like, and it's almost like an interesting character trait of Troughton, especially early on. Well, say early on, but early-ish on into his tenure, you know.
Whether he has, like, should he get involved or not?
Yeah.
And you kind of go, well, you know, I suppose it's an interesting point, actually. Because I've never thought of it like that. But now you actually point it out, it's like, oh, yeah, it does actually just let this whole situation play out and then deal with it.
And then, deal with it as kind of, you know, there's a couple of near misses, but, you know, he gets it right, obviously, but it's just this kind of like, oh, okay, we're in this like mortal danger, and it's because of him.
But again, that probably harks back to a bit like how Hartnell in the Dalek story fakes the filament, you know, the mercury leaking out of the thing because it was his own curiosity to go to see the Dalek city.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a new thing, but I know what you mean. It's interesting.
That's a fair point.
You point it out, and actually, there's past examples of the same thing with the Doctor's curiosity. He's way more. He's like, oh no, I want to go and have a look at this thing, and I don't care whether you're going to come and join me or not.
Yeah.
Hartnell does it a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas this one, I don't know what you mean. It does seem like he's just kind of just seeing how the situation plays out.
Risk. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's a bit like when he talks to Klieg later, and he's talking about the Klieg. I know the Klieg, the all powerful. You know, that's the other way of life.
All knowledge and power will be yours.
Understand, Doctor. Oh, now I know you are mad.
No, you know you're mad. I just wanted to make sure.
To make sure that.
But also, it's that kind of switch. That's why, like, one of Troughton's great points is that he can go from one mood to another really quickly and seamlessly. Like, he can go from being really intense to then being like, oh, well, now I know you're mad. It's kind of plays up to that sort of alien nature of the Doctor, which obviously Tom Baker does to the extreme later on. But I think Troughton kind of planted the seeds of that characteristic, I reckon.
See, yeah, that's the thing. It's like Hartnell's alien by.
Yeah, so we've got the Klieg and knowledge and power were his motives, and then obviously the classic Troughton '60s danger music kicks in with the Cybermen breaking through.
Oh, what's the question? Cyberman music. I know it's used in Web of Fear.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I mean, it's always
but that's the piece of music that's the Cybermen.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's the thing. Like when we were saying about when we watched Web of Fear a while ago, I was like, oh, it's the Cybermen music. It's like,
it's definitely the Cybermen music.
Yeah.
That's just a good piece of music, really. But
yeah. Again, it's one of those ones. It's like, again, synonymous with that era, the base under siege kind of style. Like, yeah, and obviously just the Cybermen that, like, yeah, they're coming to get you now. You know, it's like that impending sense of doom.
Well, that was the thing, is they were the big replacement for the Daleks.
Yeah.
In the Troughton era, that was what they were aiming for.
Yeah.
I mean, it's surprising that that either the Daleks wouldn't turn up again until Day of the Daleks.
Yeah, which was what, like 6-7 years later or something like that.
Bloody long time afterwards. Yeah. I mean, no, maybe not quite 6 years. No, it might be because you've got all the seasons of Patrick Troughton that go on.
Yeah, and then Day of the Daleks is what, John Pertwee's third season?
Yeah, it's the third season.
So yeah, that is a long fucking time. Like if you put it into like context of like today, for example, that's like having Dalek turn up in Christopher Eccleston and then not turning up again until Matt Smith's second season.
But also, you have to remember that they had written Evil of the Daleks to be a final Dalek story.
To be the end, yeah.
That is it. That's the final. Even Patrick Troughton's Doctor's like, hopefully this is the final end.
Exactly.
And then it would prove to be for at least the rest of his tenure and half of I say half, but the first third of John Pertwee's wouldn't have the Daleks in until and even when they do turn up in Day of the Daleks, it's an alternate reality version of the Daleks, really.
Yeah, it's not even the real Daleks.
Technically, it's not the real Daleks. I mean, if you're going off a tangent, but I do love Day of the Daleks.
It's great. Story. Yeah, fucking brilliant.
But they are an alternate. He's an alternate future. So even within their writing it, they're still acknowledging the fact that even at that point, that Evil of the Daleks was the final Dalek story.
Yeah.
I think that.
Well, yeah, and then
it would go on to be like Frontier in Space and Planet of the Daleks, where it would all change and the Daleks would be back and there'd be no real explanation for where they'd been. But then again, that's not new either. I mean, it's supposed to be the end of them in Dalek, but in Daleks.
Yeah. It's like the Master, you just think, there's no, you think he's dead and he comes back.
He's not gone. He's not dead.
No, he's never really gone. Yeah, and then Cyber Controller, with his big penis head, snow beard. I jest.
Big brain, penis brain.
Yeah, yeah. You probably did notice this. The voice changes. Like, so at the end of the cliffhanger of part 2 is when he goes, you belong to us, you should be like us. It's quite low pitch. And then when you get the introduction, when they replay like the last minute, part 3, it's pitch shifted. So I know it's only a little thing I noticed, but it's a lot higher pitch, and they keep that pitch for the rest of the story. But I just thought, it was just something I noticed, not a complaint. It's just. Fair
enough. No, I didn't notice that myself, so I might have to. I do know what you mean. I also thought they sounded a bit more menacing with the lower one, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe it was because they found it might be a bit hard to understand for a whole episode. Oh no!
Easier to understand it than in Moonbase, I found. I don't know. Like there was a lot of times in Moonbase where I had to really sort of pay attention to what they were saying because of the way that the intonation on certain words.
Yeah. And then Hopper comes along, saves the day, opens up the hatch, gets downstairs, got some smoke bombs.
With the smoke bombs that literally sent the Cybermen all the wrong way.
Archaeological dig is definitely something you take with you, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, just for situations like this. And then you find Kaftan's still alive. You think she gets killed by the Cybermen?
No. She wakes up, doesn't she? And she tries it, and then she screams, and then they have her at gunpoint. So that already gets dealt with. Yeah. And then obviously, they escape the Cybermen. I mean, this is me recapping back. Ages ago.
That's why there's a lot of going back and forth here, guys, as you're obviously used to by now, both of us.
So yes, they eventually lock up Klieg and Kaftan, and then the Cyberman sent out. Cyberman gets lifted up in the air.
Yeah, I thought that was quite interesting because he literally gets thrown like a fucking rag doll by one of them, and then later on it takes four Cybermen to restrain him. It was just like, all right, so it takes one to throw him, and then 4 to restrain him later. So when they all there's 3 of them grab him, and then one of them basically electrocutes him and blah blah blah.
They're running out of they're running out of power. They're not.
Yeah, they're trying to conserve energy. That's one way of skirting around it, I suppose. After that, Kaftan falls for Victoria's scream really easily. So you know when earlier on she was trying to get her to like get away from the Cyberman, and then she does it again, and she turns around,
and then she does the scream again, and then
yeah.
If she moves, blast her.
Then she goes like when she's trying to go back down again, and then like no, you stay here. And she goes, "Who be a woman?" And then
How do you know?
Oh, do you know her? Yeah. It's just like wow. But I mean, they do make a point of her like being like, "Is he always like this?" Yeah, most of the time.
Don't call me Vic.
Sorry, Vic. Talking to Klieg, and he's like, "You have fear. We will eliminate fear from your brain." And now Klieg's properly shitting himself. Now he's like, okay. I wasn't expecting.
This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah, I wanted to control you lot, but obviously that's not going to happen. Back to Victoria. She proper tried smacking up that Cyberman that kept trying to get through the hatch. I was like, yeah, go on. Did you pick
up a chair, or is it like or is it the? No, Jamie picks up the chair.
Jamie picks up the chair.
Picks up the thermos, isn't it? She's whacking it with the thermos.
Properly going for it. Just like, yeah, have some of that. So then Hopper goes again because I don't think you have any more trouble with your friends down there. Whoops. Those last words. Well, not last words, but you know what I mean.
Then Klieg gets the cigarette gun.
Yeah. And then it's weird. He sort of like moves it like this. It's like, is that really how you shoot a gun? I don't. That doesn't look quite right to me, but never mind.
Look out, Doctor! Episode 3.
It's
so yeah, he's not dead. In a weird sort of like Sunday morning children's television, like, oh, look at that, look, they didn't get killed.
Yeah, he's behind
and
you.
Everybody else who's been shot with this gun dies.
Yeah.
And the Cybermen get killed by this gun.
Yeah. Like in a proper smoking fashion as well.
And then then the Cybermen change tact and they're like, you've got the gun now, we'll do some deal, okay. As long as I can have some energy.
Yeah. Although before then, you got the famous conversation about our lives are different from everyone else's between.
Oh, that's before they get attacked by the
Cybermites.
Oh, the Cybermites.
Yeah, Cybermites. Would have been better. But I think it's one of the highlights of the story because, and you've said this on a number of occasions before. It's like this is how you show true compassion to your companion because she lost her father in the previous story. And it's the whole thing of him, like,
the pain will always be the same.
I can close my eyes and I can remember the people that I've lost if I want to, but I have to really want to remember them.
How do you remember them as being so old? Old?
Oh, yeah, that's it. Ancient. Old. Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, that's quite an easy reference point. Hint, hint, Chibnall at, if your character's got, worried about cancer. The thing you don't do is say, I'm a bit awkward. I don't really know what to say right now. It's like, oh, really?
So I'm going to walk over here and then think about what I should have said.
Oh, great, thanks. And then I've got, Cybermice attack. Oh, God, the teeth. So we've got that. But then going back to what we were saying about, like, the idea of them is quite scary the way that Doctor explains, they're a form of metallic life. They home in on human brainwaves. It's like, that's nasty because
they're not even made out of anything else. They are just metal creatures.
Yeah. And then obviously comes the classic line. You might say they had a complete metal breakdown. And the best.
Oh yeah, and Jamie's like, oh
yeah. It's like he's disapproving dad joke reaction. It's like, oh.
Not even sure, like. That must have been ad-libbed. can't imagine they.
Because the reaction from Jamie especially is like, that seems almost like really like a really real reaction. It's just
I genuinely don't even think it was in the script. That one doesn't sound like it was in the script. I think he just. No. And the thing is, that's what Patrick Troughton was like.
Yeah.
Just play around with the script and say the same thing, but with a slightly different twist to it.
Yeah. Which pissed John Pertwee off to no end when they were on screen.
Another tangent. When he gets to the Three Doctors and Patrick Troughton had to go with John Pertwee is very much like the script is the script and you stick to it.
Yeah, to the letter. Yeah.
And the amount of times they would do like different takes and Patrick Troughton would just deliberately do it differently. Just to wind them up.
So you get that like genuine like disdain almost from John Pertwee. It's just like, will you be quiet?
Well, to be honest, it shines through in the story and it works. But the genuine intention was there. Yeah. I think by the time they did the 5 Doctors, they'd become friends by that point.
I was going to say,
I don't think they knew each other when they did the 3 Doctors.
No.
And even then, they're playing up to it in the 5 Doctors. But sorry, I digress.
No, it's cool. My last note on part 3 is Klieg shoots this cyber gun. Something else after that, but yeah. Now it's part 4. Unless there's any other notes you've got for part 3.
No. This is some very sparse on this, but I must have obviously been falling asleep by the time I got to this point. And I know what happened. I know. Well, now I obviously rechecked it, but I knew what happens.
Yeah.
So someone dies in the way, saves the Doctor and get killed. Ooh, yeah.
I've got here at the beginning of part 4. It's almost like we were talking about Kaftan about being like quite sinister. I've got here like Kaftan was like she gives off like kind of Rani-ish vibes here when she says, "You will make excellent experimental specimens for the Cybermen." And it's like, oh, you're quite, you're a nasty piece of work, aren't you? But in the best way possible.
The Cybermen.
Yeah. And then you got Klieg going, "I wish to speak to the controller." Meanwhile, the Cybermen are like, "Yeah, fuck him too." Like, we're just going to fuck you all over.
If the King of the Beasties wouldn't be able to get us out of this one.
Yeah. Give me a lesson in tied knots.
I love it. There's so many good lines in it. There's so many good lines. It just gets me every time. When I say run, you go left.
Run.
Let's get away.
Yeah. Toba Cyberman. So they've got Toman and they're basically
with a Cyberman hand, because that's like enough version.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, it's as easy as, oh yeah, no, was it? They basically get the Cybermats to hone in on him, and then they're like, right, he's ready. Now send them up the chutes, whatever. There's a nice reverse shot of the Cybermen going back to bed. It's basically a reverse shot of them coming out. Zipping up the cling film. When the cyber controller sounds really unsettling, where he's like, the energy levels are low. Yeah, it's just like, well, it sounds horrific, but in the best way.
So then there's a funny bit where Kaftan's trying to stop them from going down, and this is after he's burst out of the sarcophagus.
Yeah,
and then there's like a double take where it's like she shuts it, he opens it, she shuts it again, and he opens it, and it's like, for fucking, die now.
Yeah,
so Kaftan finally gets her end.
Yeah,
gets shot.
Like, I'm gonna do it. No, psh, fuck off.
And then the Doctor does a good bit of like convincing Toberman that he's not like them. He's not a machine.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, it's interesting because it's like he shows genuine compassion for Kaftan, because he's actually like, oh, he's like hugging her like lifeless corpse, as if like he's really upset. Okay, they say like, he was a servant and stuff, but obviously there was like a connection between the two of them, because that's the thing that kind of pushes him to sort of be like, destroy them all, they're evil, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
They go beyond just a servant, if that makes sense. Or maybe in his mind he's devoted to her.
Yeah, which is more likely the situation. Yeah, and then he absolutely batters the controller, like just fucking throws it onto the control panel.
And I like how the dummy's head comes off, but it's still attached. It's fine. It has his penis brain hasn't fallen out.
Yeah.
And then this is the death that I forgot. Is where Jamie like bang, like James Bond.
Yeah, actually, and it's funny you should say that, because I must have noticed this too. Watching, is like, I put Jamie is a pretty good shot.
Then I haven't counted the other death because he says, "Oh, there's another one," and shoots, but what he's shooting at is completely off screen. You don't see the other side man die, so it's fine. I'm going to say doesn't count. And then it takes Toberman to go down, and then they're going to reseal the Cybermen back up.
Yeah.
And then, boom, 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 Klieg's not dead.
The sneaky bastard.
Ooh.
Yeah, what's going to happen here? And then you're going to go back to the famous line, goes, well, no, I know you're mad. I just wanted to make sure.
Like you say, Patrick Troughton specifically is very good at that.
Yeah, it's just smooth motherfucker. And then so then like when they freeze him back, the doctor goes, "Last time they were frozen for 5 centuries. This time it must be forever." And then I put, "Nope, no, not quite this time." No. And then I put here when the controller like suddenly comes back, it's kind of got like that sort of Hammer horror vibe with like the monster coming back to life imagery, like right at the end when you think it's dead.
You have missed Cybermen ripping the
the chest unit, yeah,
and also that Cyberman killing Klieg.
Yeah.
To be fair, you don't actually see Klieg get killed, but you do hear him. So, and he is the main character getting killed. So I will count it as a death because it is.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, because obviously he doesn't.
Cyberman's like, he killed Klieg.
You evil! It's actually quite. I mean, okay, it's just like foam, but even like the reaction.
Oh, it's horrific for 65.
67, I think, is it? Yeah, even
67, maybe
50 years ago. Anyway, 50 odd years ago.
Might be 66. Although to be fair, I do have the DVD right here, so I could just go.
Look at the blow up.
Between the 2nd and the 23rd of September 67.
67. Cool. But even that, it's still. Yeah, 50 for a 55-year-old story. I mean, it's still pretty fucking harrowing when you see that. And like I say, with Doctor and James,
reactions like fucking making horrible noises, like it's drowning. It's like, oh man, this is bad.
Yeah,
and then, like you say, like Hammer horror, he's back alive again. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, you're all right.
It's just that kind of like, oh yeah, the creepy monster comes back for one last attack. Yeah. When I say run, and then kind of go basically the different directions, just run around the back of him. And then Cybermen finally gets beaten by a door. So it's like first
they both get electrocuted. I mean, the Cyberman, the cyber controller's death is probably like, oh.
Yeah. And then poor Cyberman. It's quite a nice circular story to tell it because it's like, the first death was on the door and the last death was on the door, so it's gone full circle. Yeah,
they still contained the death.
And
was in the tomb.
Within the tomb.
Brilliant.
And then you've got the absolute classic Patrick Troughton era. Oh, it's not quite over. No, I never like to make predictions.
The broken Dalek and the Ice Stalk.
Yeah.
Not dead. Is the Cyberman going across the floor, outside the tomb. That.
And then you kind of think, like, is that then going to, I suppose, no. I was just thinking, is that Cyberman then going to make, like, Cybermen, like, the first of a new age of Cybermen? Because it sort of zooms in on the Cyberman, then goes back to like Tobin lying on the ground, and then the last shot is like the symbol of the Cybermen on the tomb,
slightly all burnt up and whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, so I suppose that's the end of a fucking awesome story.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's like 4 parts. It romps, doesn't waste any time. I think that's got what. I mean, if you just break it down, I love the sound score, music. It's one of those ones. It's quite interesting that a lot of people were disappointed when they finally watched it, because obviously it got discovered in '94. So quite a few people had heard the audio of Tomb of the Cybermen, unless they'd watched it, back in 1967.
Yeah,
and would, I don't say really funny, but it was slightly disappointing when they did finally see it, because the soundscape is actually better than what you see.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
When you actually hear it as an audible, it's actually like, I mean, it was just a complaint that some fans had when they finally did get to see it after it had not been in the thing. But I mean, like that, I think it's still a brilliant story.
Oh, so I mean, it's like you were saying about the soundscape. It's quite simple, but it's effective. You know what I mean? It's just like you've got it's one sort of continuous like eerie tone throughout the whole episode, and then obviously then you've got the, like we said before, the classic Cyberman music. Then they break out the tunes, like that's like synonymous with them. And then I think it worked really well, especially when it's very contained, like it was. Like I put a lot of Patrick Troughton stories are based Under Siege and all that.
But in the end, they get the set design just right.
Yeah.
In all the base Under Siege Patrick Troughton stories, which I don't know whether that was them showing off on a step up from previous.
Mm-hmm.
The Hartnell stories always felt really. They were trying to do what they could with not a lot of resources.
Yeah.
It's almost like when they get to Patrick Troughton, they finally either have the resources or people are pushing the envelope.
Yeah, well, they're being more creative with it, or at least to the point where it fits. Maybe in terms of like, let's do based Under Siege. Just make it a bit more minimalist, but at the same time, because of that, it's really going to be more.
It looks huge. That's what I love about like the team of Cybermen is that when they get in, you've got this vast open sort of chamber with the big control bank, and it's like quite imposing. As soon as they open those doors and they go in, it's like, whoa, this is huge. And then you've got the two smaller set pieces, like the black tiny room with the target. And then you've got the big energizer and the slamming and the
hypnosis screen. Yeah, I must look at it. I can't take my eyes off it.
I mean, maybe the frozen in the actual tomb parts where it's not like the actual built set for the tombs is great.
Yeah,
but it's everything on that left-hand side where it's. I suppose it's hard to depict ice any other way other than the way that they do it.
The way they did it, yeah.
It's carved out. Ice looks like ice. It's not.
Yeah. And I mean, there was some clever like trickery with when they're going back from defrosting the Cybermen and then refrosting them and stuff, and it's like it's simple, like they're just like reversing the shot, but at first it's quite a gradual like melting, shall we say, and then you've got like the water dripping down, it's melting off. So that set piece itself feels claustrophobic, but in the right kind of way, because they've got like the distance, what's the word I'm looking for? Perspective. Yeah, they've got like an interesting perspective.
They do have the perspective actually looks right.
Yeah,
like off that shot from where they're standing to where the tombs are, feels like, although they've shot it in such a way that that room's a lot smaller than it is.
Yeah.
It does give the illusion that is just, to the right. And even when they do the full size set, it's like obviously clearly a different set.
Oh yeah.
And then again, the design of the Cybermen is still I still think it's my favourite design for the Cybermen, the three fingered.
Oh, the three fingered claw, like
those Cybermen. Those two stories of that design.
Yeah.
Is the best design for the Cybermen.
Yeah, hard to.
They certainly way creepier.
Yeah.
In that sleek, sin look, and probably.
I love the invasion style, but I know what you're saying. It's like that's when they started to get a bit more robotic.
Well, the interesting thing is that these would probably be the latest. If that makes it in the timeline, they are the latest version.
Yeah.
Think about the times in which they exist. And then you see the other versions are actually technically previous versions because they're earlier in the history, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, because Invasion was set present day.
So those would be that version of Cybermen is actually older, closer to the 80s. So that's why I find the 80s design kind of fits quite well because it looks like the ones from Invasion, just like the next step up.
The next natural.
But it's not that much of a leap to think that they could end up becoming the ones in Tomb of the Cybermen at a later date through changes in design. So now I come to think there's only two bad points. The Cybermats.
Yeah.
Good idea. Again, it's a bit about but the same thing we said about Claws of Axos. A great idea, but not necessarily probably the budget or the things to be able to actually pull it off.
Yeah, it was. It didn't really allow for the vision of what they do to be realised greatly.
Yeah. What they were actually aiming for, they kind of fell very short of. I mean, they're not in it for very long, so
no,
they're not a major part of the story. But
no. They're they're an ancillary sort of foe.
And the penis brain.
Yeah, because I know you notice how they never went back to that design after that with the controllers. They just gave them a black helmet instead. I was like, yeah, that probably makes more sense. And obviously, they're probably going for the idea that.
Well, the difference between the cyber leader and the cyber controller. The controller only really appears one more time, and that's Attack of the Cybermen.
Yeah. Well,
and in fairness, the same actor. Stick him in the same. It's the same actor playing the controller again.
Oh, what? As the same as the one in 2?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
But then again, it kind of detracts from who's the actor that plays the cyber leader does such a good job as a cyber leader in the 80s anyway.
Yeah.
That it was kind of like when they did Attack of the Cybermen, you kind of go, well, why did you bother? Because you've already got them.
Yeah, it's like having two, like it's like having the Emperor Dalek and the Supreme Dalek in the same story. Oh yeah, they did that, didn't they? Yeah, it's like either have one or the other. Why do you need both? Okay, what to sort of like explain the ranking system? Yeah, I agree with you there. They just stick with the leader and be done with it.
It was a much better way of showing it.
Yeah,
differentiating one from the others, just to say, oh yeah, that's the leader, and you kind of go, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, he's got a bit more of like tactical nous about him.
It's a well cast story. The script is tight.
Yeah, there's nothing that like makes you feel like there's at no point for me personally am I looking at my watch going, come on. It's just like everything goes from one set piece to the next set piece, but it's not for the sake of it. It's like this leads to this because this happens, and this leads to that because that happens.
It's interesting that you've got a 4-part story that's all set in the same location, and I don't get bored.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know me, in my opinion of I even get things like Red Dwarf. When they're stranded on Starbug on the ice planet, and they're in a whole episode set in the one room, it's still funny, but I get bored because that's only 25-minute comedy episode.
Yeah,
bored of, being sat in the same room.
It was a lot longer. But I suppose the good thing about this is that while it is one location, it's still kind of varied in terms of different aspects of that location.
Yeah, that's true.
Going from the wasteland to this to like the main
control room.
Yeah,
then you've got the testing room. It is although one location is a varied location. It's like you're quite right. It gives the illusion that there's actually a lot more to it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So it's like you draw the comparison with Hammer Horror. Klieg's character, or Klieg the actor, I can't remember his name, but he appears in Curse of the Mummy.
Oh, really?
As a bit like what's his face? Armin Harbreen in Pyramids of Mars.
Oh yeah.
That sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, to be fair, I mean Pyramids of Mars is the parody of the Curse of the Mummy.
Right.
And Klieg's character is the one that's in league with the Mummy.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see him here.
Right. Obviously, the parallels.
In a clearly inspired by archaeological digs of the turn of the century.
Yeah.
Here he is doing a similar sort of role again.
And hamming it up to perfection as well.
Yeah. Like going absolutely mad and chewing the scenery by the end of it, which is what you want in Doctor Who, to be honest. A lot of the time.
Klieg and Kaftan is slightly tropey, in their attempts to control the Cybermen, but they're charismatic enough to pull it off. And they for one-off sort of secondary villains, I suppose they're a good foil other than the Cybermen for our heroes.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got the threat of the Cybermen themselves, and then you've got these two pains in the arses as well, and their super strong manservant that's physical. There's a double aspect of it. They're not just dealing with two people that are clever.
Yeah.
They also have the muscle to back it up if they really needed to. So you're like, oh shit.
Quite formidable. Hopper's great, as we said before. He's a great secondary character. It's just like he's very American, isn't he? Like really, like properly hams it up. Great.
You point out he turns up in Star Wars as an Empire officer. Hopper.
Oh, Hopper does.
Yeah, he's in New Hope.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, you pointed it out to me, and then showed me a picture of him.
Oh yeah. Oh, that one. Yeah. See, the brain's gone. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
And that took me a little while. I was like, yeah, no shit, it's the same actor.
Yeah. No, you are right. Yeah.
And then obviously Professor Viner turns up in Planet of Spiders.
Oh, yeah.
He does all the magic tricks.
Yeah.
Actually doing it before he got the cues. That's how the Doctor was like, you actually are, performing magic.
Yeah, that's a nice sideshow. And then I suppose talking about our three heroes, just fucking sublime. I can't really go much further than that. Really, they're just in the action from the start. Great introduction for not introduction, but continuation for Victoria, but her proper introduction to the TARDIS life.
Yeah, to her proper introduction to the life.
Yeah. And then like we say, Jamie's just completely settled into the role, and again to his life as a time traveler now. He's just grasping it.
Used to the idea.
Yeah, and then Troughton himself is just sublime. Again, he's just like he's like we say with the intrigue at the beginning.
By this point, he's finally getting the balance between his more silly and trying to be funny parts.
Yeah, like the playful nature.
And the serious.
Yeah.
Have now started to balance out a bit more by the time he's got to here.
Yeah.
Because there are points in this first season, particularly Underwater Menace.
Oh yeah.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. He's still finding his footing.
Moonbase, when he's like with the Cybermen again, the director actually like pins him down and gets him to play it serious the whole time.
Yeah.
Which I can think visibly you can see he's not happy having to do it serious.
Yeah.
Although I'd say arguably some of his best stuff is in that episode because he's being serious.
Yeah.
That now I
to take control. Well, is the famous line?
Well, yeah.
Some corners of the universe
have bred the most terrible things that stand against everything that we believe in, and they must be fought.
Yeah.
There's virus, for instance. I don't know, he's like, it's not a bacteria at all, but by the time he's doing two of the Cybermen, he's finding the balance himself.
He's found his voice as the Doctor. Yeah.
To be silly as well as stern and be, and it's a sign of a good actor, really, to actually get it right as after experimenting for a season.
Yeah, and obviously there was a lot of pressure on him as well to be like to carry on where William Hartnell left off, because that was sort of an unprecedented move, wasn't it? Like, if it wasn't for Troughton being successful, the show probably wouldn't be here now. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. If it wasn't for his portrayal,
and
him getting it right,
And thank God he did, because I mean we've got a gem like this and many others in his tenure as well. Should we give our rankings for Tomb of the Cybermen?
Yeah, you want to go? Do you want to go first, though?
I don't mind.
I can never remember. We usually alternate it, but I can't remember. It's been so long.
No, I can't remember either.
I think we let Jack do it last time.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna say 10. So it's not really a hard decision for me in that regard. I was contemplating making it a 9 at first, just because of the Cybermats, but I thought, no, I'm being a bit harsh there because the story itself and everything else about it is just so good. So yeah, like the Cybermen are sinister, devious, terrifying, good supporting cast, good location. Doctor's just great. Jamie and Victoria are excellent. Pace of the story is perfect, so I can't see a reason not to give it a 10 personally. So that's what I'm going to give it.
Well, mine's going to be a 9 out of 10 because for the reasons you've stated, the Cybermats and the penis brain, cyber controller.
Yeah.
I mean, so like in my mind, like 10 out of 10 is like everything has to be spot on, and that's just being pedantic. I'm not.
I don't know. That's fair
enough. That in every aspect that's important, it's spot on.
Yeah.
Like sound design, set design, Cyberman design.
Yeah.
The casting, the acting, the script, the story, and the length of the story. It's only 4 parts.
Yeah, exactly. It's the sweet spot.
To stop it from being that perfect. I mean, I say it's like 9.9.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, it's just close. It's only that, just that little thing that just stops it from being perfect. Not like in Robots of Death, where I like everything about Robots of Death.
Yeah.
There's no part that I dislike.
Yeah.
There's like at least there's little niggling bits, but like you say, bloody good story, and
so
I enjoy it.
Thank God.
As soon as we were like, "Oh, should we do a black and white one?" and do Patrick Troughton? Yeah, can we do? Will it? Can we just because it's one of the last 4 parts?
Yeah, one of the few
anything
is
else is going to be longer than 4 parts.
Yeah. Well, at least we've done it now. Sorry it took so long, but we got there. Yeah. Big shout out to everyone who's like subscribed in between us not actually doing anything. Hopefully.
Yeah, there's been quite a few of those.
Yeah, I know, right? Thank you. It's like we're up to like 300 and something now. So yeah, that's really cool. And hopefully we won't leave it as long next time. And yeah, like we say, we obviously it's hard to get all 4 of us together, but like situations like this, we'll try and do it in any combination that we can do. Like,
whatever it works.
Yeah. So hopefully we will see you again very soon. Cheers.